Who could have imagined that a simple, unassuming young man from a remote South African village would grow up to become one of the most influential figures of the 20th century? Today we celebrate the extraordinary life of Nelson Mandela. Welcome to my channel. Today we've set aside all our regular content to talk about a truly great man. We don't often get to meet such inspiring people in real life, and when we do, they leave us humbled and changed forever. Such was the case for many of us lucky enough to know Madiba. When thinking about Mandela, it's important to remember that he wasn't perfect. He too made mistakes, big ones. But what sets him apart is that he owned up to those mistakes and tried his best to make amends. As an ANC member, he originally did not believe in non-violent resistance. He believed that violence against oppressors was justified. After decades of living a violent life, he came to realize the importance of forgiveness and reconciliation. He admitted that his militant past had brought suffering to others, and instead of hiding from this part of himself, he confronted it. He showed that it was possible to turn pain into power. It is a lesson that we are all capable of learning and applying to our own lives. Mandela was born in a village in the Eastern Cape of South Africa in 1918. His name, Ralilala, meant pulling the branch of a tree, or more simply, troublemaker. His birth name has been Latinized to Mandela, and the diminutive form of it is Madiba. Madiba. He was born into royalty, a family of chiefs. But he grew up leading a rural, humble life. He herded cattle. Listened to tribal elders. He believed in justice. Even as a boy, Mandela later studied to be a lawyer. He joined the African National Congress, the ANC, and soon became its president. He worked for equality for blacks in South Africa, especially in the face of oppressive laws known as apartheid. When peaceful protests failed, he helped plan acts of sabotage against the government. The police arrested him in 1962. A year later, he went on trial with 14 other activists in what became known as the Rivonia trial. The state charged them with sabotage and conspiracy to overthrow the government. Mandela was the only defendant to take the stand. He defended himself and delivered an inspiring speech that became known as the "I am prepared to die" speech. The judge found him guilty and sentenced him to life in prison. He spent the next 27 years behind bars, but though he suffered greatly, he refused to compromise his principles. Despite enduring beatings and solitary confinement, he earned respect from some of his jailers, and they became friendly. One guard reported that Mandela never complained, even when he had every reason to do so. Mandela's wife, Winnie, campaigned tirelessly for his release and became an activist in her own right. She endured harassment by the security police, who often detained her without charging her with a crime. But she refused to back down. She said, "As long as I live, you won't stop hearing about the injustices of apartheid." Winnie's dedication didn't go unnoticed. And when she was put on trial in 1988 on charges related to Mandela's activities, the court found her guilty and sentenced her to 6 months in prison. However, due to international pressure, President P.W. Botha pardoned both Mandela and Winnie. They were free to go. But the struggle didn't end there. The country was still racially divided. Now, this is where Mandela's true greatness comes in. Instead of seeking revenge or continuing the fight against the government, Mandela wanted to bring the country together. He shook hands with his former jailers and asked them, "Can we start over?" He appealed to South Africans of all races to work towards a new government based on democracy. His approach paid off. In 1994, South Africa held its first multiracial elections, and Mandela became the country's first black president. Served until 1999. During his presidency, he focused on healing the wounds of the past. He established the Truth and Reconciliation Commission to investigate human rights abuses committed during apartheid. He also played a key role in drafting a new constitution that enshrined equality and human rights for all South Africans. It might seem natural to assume that someone like Mandela always enjoyed widespread support, but this was not the case. In fact, he was hated by many of his fellow South Africans, especially those who benefited from the old regime. Some saw him as a dangerous revolutionary who should be feared and hated. But, despite the threats and intimidation, Mandela never wavered in his commitment to justice and equality. Even after being released from prison, he continued to speak out against racism and oppression. He traveled around the world to raise awareness of the plight of his people and to call for an end to apartheid. His efforts paid off. In 1993, he shared the Nobel Peace Prize with F.W. de Klerk, the president of South Africa, who had played a key role in ending apartheid. Together, they demonstrated that it was possible for former enemies to work together to create a better future. As Mandela approached the end of his life, he continued to be a vocal advocate for social justice and equality. He campaigned against poverty and AIDS and spoke out against corruption and abuse of power. Even after stepping down as president, Mandela remained active in public life. He founded the Nelson Mandela Foundation to promote peace and reconciliation and to preserve his legacy. What we love most about Mandela is that he was a man of the people. He was a leader who was deeply connected to his community and who fought tirelessly for their rights. He was a man who understood the importance of forgiveness and reconciliation, and who showed us that it is possible to overcome even the darkest of times. He was a man who never gave up hope, and who showed us that even in the face of great adversity, we can make a difference. In conclusion, we say thank you, Tata, for teaching us the importance of forgiveness, of social justice, and of fighting for equality. You will never be forgotten. As he said, it always seems impossible until it's done. Thank you for watching this special episode. And please let us know in the comments section below what you think. What inspired you about Nelson Mandela's life? If you haven't already, please subscribe to stay updated on our latest videos. Thanks again for watching. See you next time.